Hey guys, it's Ernesto and welcome back to yet another video. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I'm having a wonderful day. So today we're going to talk about the video gear that I use to create these videos. You guys wanted to know what I use, so we're going to talk about that. So what I'm going to cover in this video is basically the audio that I use for these videos, the lighting gear that I use for the videos, and the camera. So let's start out with the audio. So the audio is one of the things that you guys have basically riffed on me on over the course of me creating these videos over time. I want to lie to you, the audio over time was horrible. It was so horrible that when you guys were listening to the video, you guys would say, look, my headphones is broken, because you were just hearing the audio on, either the left or the right side of your headphones, which was primarily my fault, because when I was recording the video, it was just coming through either on the left or the right channel. I didn't know any better. When I first started out with these videos, my primary concern was basically recording my journey and using YouTube for storage. That's all I was doing, using YouTube for storage and on-demand access, because I was traveling a lot. It wasn't really for you, the viewer, to basically watch this. It was just basically for me to go back and watch these videos to help me with my photography journey. So as you guys started to notice the videos more and more, and you guys started to subscribe to the channel, you started to give very critical feedback on the audio. So for that reason, over time, I invested in audio, primarily just to make sure that the video is a little bit better than what it was before. So the audio that I invested in is the Rode Link wireless system. That particular system worked for me really great. The only issue that I have with it is that the fact that I have to monitor my own audio, because I shoot all these videos by myself. So the first thing that comes to mind, or the issues that I have with it, is that if there's any type of interference or if the battery dies, there's no way for me to know until I actually go and review the footage. So that's a big concern of mine when I'm doing this. The one thing I need to invest in is probably a boom audio system, so I could have it like right over my head like here. But that's a little bit expensive right now, so I'll hold off on that. But for right now, this works for me. All right, so now let's talk about the cameras that I use to create these videos. Now, over time, I utilized multiple cameras. The first camera that I was using for video was my Sony A55, which, by the way, was my very first camera that I got that got me into photography. Now, when I obtained the 5D Mark II, which was now becoming my primary camera for photography, my Sony A55 became my video camera. And I used that camera to capture the BTS coverage of all the photography that I was doing, just so I could document it and put it up on YouTube. So that was my first camera that I was using for BTS. Then I invested in the 5D Mark III. And when I invested in the 5D Mark III, I basically put away the Sony A55 and I started to use the Canon 5D Mark II for video. Now, that was a great video camera, but the only primary issue that I had with that was the autofocus. The autofocus wasn't that great, because I need autofocus because I pretty much shooting all this stuff by myself. So having a great audio focus is great. For example, this video I'm shooting right now, I can't do it without autofocus. So that's the primary reason. That was the primary issue that I had with the 5D Mark II. So after utilizing the 5D Mark II for some time, I basically upgraded. I wouldn't say upgrade, but I got an additional camera, which was the 6D Mark II. Now the 6D Mark II has amazing focus, and for me, autofocus, and for me that was really, really critical, because I could use this camera now, put it on a tripod, set it up, forget it, and I don't have to worry about it, which was great for an actual photo shoot, because I could just leave it there and I don't have to worry about, is the model in focus? Am I in focus? I don't have to worry about that, because it would do a phenomenal job with that. So that was a great addition to my arsenal, and I still use that camera to this day. The one issue I have with this camera is not, well, I wouldn't say necessarily an issue, is just that the one feature that I wish this camera had that I actually had to go to another camera to get is slow-mo. Now, it has 60 frames per second, so you could basically take it down 50% and you could get, you know, a nice bit of slow-mo with that, which is great. But what I was really looking for was like 125 frames per second slow-mo. So I was looking into different cameras that I could get to solve that problem. Now, the one camera or two cameras that I was looking at was the Canon 1DX Mark II, which has 125 frames per second for the slow-mo. And I was also looking at the Sony A7 III. Now, the reason I didn't get the 1DX over the Sony was because the 1DX was $5 grand, $6 grand, and just getting that camera alone just for video, I didn't think it would be justifiable just to get it just for video. I was thinking if I got that camera, now that camera would just become like my main photography camera, and it would just happen to do video. But I didn't want to invest in that much money for just that camera. So what I ended up doing is getting the Sony A7 III, and that Sony A7 III primarily does all of my slow-mo that you see in these videos. So any type of slow motion type B-roll stuff that you're seeing, that's the Sony A7 III doing that slow-mo. All right, so now let's talk about lighting. So for lighting, when I started out doing these videos, I wasn't really caring about what the lighting situation was like. Now, that sounds horrible coming from a photographer, but yeah, for videos, I wasn't really paying too much attention to it. The only video light that I really had was my ice light, which did an okay job, but it wasn't really the best because it wasn't as powerful as I wanted it. So like if I wanted to get like the background tame, like properly exposed, like if I had, these, if I was using ambient light and I wanted to get the ambient light properly exposed and bring in the ice light, it wouldn't have lit me properly. I would have been, dim. Not properly lit. The shadows will be lifted a little bit, but I won't be properly lit. So yeah, that ice light wasn't really a great solution for my video production. So what I ended up doing over time as I was shooting videos, vendors started to notice my channel and started to reach out and saying, hey, would you like to review this? Would you like to review that? Given, like I said, I funded everything with this YouTube channel, I could have been very selective with the vendors that I choose to work with. So vendors that were sending me, or suggesting that they wanted to send me certain things, I wasn't really focused on any of those things. So I rejected most offers that I got. I was only focused on trying to improve the lighting. So any vendor that reached out to me and said, hey, we have this light that you want, that you would like to try, I was like, sure. Is it a video light? Awesome, let's make it happen. So the first video that I did with a lighting that I got from a vendor, I'll link that video up here. But that video, that light was my first video light that I received, and I use that light religiously in most of my videos to light me basically. The next video light that I received from a vendor was basically the last video that I put up, those two video lights that I received. Those two video lights, now I use both of those video lights. Right now I'm using it right behind me for that blue light that you see here. And I'm also using it over here for another light. So like if I shut it off right now, so I'm sure you could see the difference, right? Now if I turn it back on, yeah, so that's what those two lights back there are doing. Now I also purchased my very first video light. Actually, I should step back. The first video light that I purchased after the ice light was the Aperture 120D. The Aperture 120D was my main light source that was lighting me for the most part in my videos, and then I acquired all those other lights that I just talked about from various vendors. So yeah, having the option to be picky and choosy about the vendors that you work with was, at least in my case, very important for me. And if I was getting random gear, my house would have been filled up with a whole bunch of gear that neither that I want to use anymore or was not useful to me. So being very selective helped in the gear that I needed for these videos. All right, so one more thing before we get off of the lighting situations, let me talk about the lighting that I use right now currently to light me, because I know one of you guys put out a question like, how do I light this particular situation? So I'm gonna insert some other video, not of this particular lighting situation, but some other videos to show you how I pretty much go about setting this up. So right now, obviously, I'm lighting myself with the Aperture 120D in a softbox. So that's what's lighting me right now. In the background, I have the Godox FV150. Both of those lights are to the left and right of me. Now, in the video that I'm inserting, I'm only showing you that I have one Godox FV150 light directly to the left of me. Now, that light is both for two things. It's for assisting with the two practical lights that you see in the background. So the two lamps that I have in the background, I basically wanted to assist those two lamps in the background. So again, I'm gonna shut off this light again. Right? So right now you just see the two practical lights in the background. Now to assist with those two practical lights, the Godox FV150 to light directly over to my left shoulder, which is basically camera right. Now that light was it needed some assistance, so the Godox FV150 assisted with that practical lighting. So if I turn it on now, as you can see, it just offer a little bit of lift and lift up all the shadows in this room. So that's how I lit this particular shot. And in the other video, you'll see a little bit how all of that stuff came together with the lights being shut off and shut back on, so you can actually get a better visual. Now, with the fact that I can use these video lights, I can basically create any type of lighting situation that I want to create without having to depend on natural light to actually create these videos. Well, that's it, guys. If this video was helpful to you, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Put some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Share this video with your friends and family if you think it will be helpful to them. And guys, if you got this far in this video and you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, well, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.